We will wrap up this notes package today. There's a couple of slides. Not a lot of them have any written text. A lot of it's just images. The last section of this PowerPoint looks at how people's relationship to the land, different people. We're just looking at the nuances between relationship to land, people, and globalization. First topic we discussed, which I haven't really put anything down for, is spirituality. How might your religious or spiritual beliefs impact the way you engage with the world? How might a person's religious beliefs affect the way they act? Any ideas? See, some of us are thinking.
If you believe in like God and the Holy Trinity and stuff like that, and you follow the Bible, like your life is set on God, you probably won't be swearing and stuff like that, and you won't be like listening to music like Drake and stuff like that.
So if you're a man or a woman of God, you wouldn't swear and listen to Drake. Drake is unholy. Let's go back there. Say that again. You could have different opinions and outlooks, right? So how you see the world might vary depending on, if you believe in God, don't believe in God, follow a particular religion. Over here.
Like you would pray, you do stuff that follows within your religion, and probably wouldn't like it if someone talked badly of your religion.
So you follow certain rules about your religion, and maybe you'd be a little unhappy about someone talking smack about your faith.
They can celebrate like different parts, which I guess for Christians they celebrate Christmas, while some religions don't, and they would have like, I guess some sort of disagreement or conflict.
So we have different practices as well, which may come into conflict. So how many of you have read the book of Genesis? Okay, a couple of us. Do you know about Genesis, the story of creation, or the Christian story of creation? So I'll just reiterate a couple parts of it too. I have a Bible there, but I won't. Maybe we can read out of the Bible. When in the Christian story, when God created the earth, or created everything, it took 7 days. 6 days to create, 1 day to rest. Afterwards, he creates human beings at some point. Anyone know who the first human being was that in the story was created? Adam, right? From Adam came Eve, and then after that there were all these animals that were created. And what happens when the animals are created? What does God tell Adam to do? To name them, right? So he names each of these animals, these beings. Okay. Now there's an interesting bit right after that where God says that to Adam that you have stewardship, right? You're responsible over these beings. Okay, so he created all these things, and the order of it is actually also listed in Noah's Ark here. So if you kind of see, look at this image. This is a painting by Jonathan Pajot. Towards the top of the ark in the upper layers, you have like kind of your standard normal animals, right? Towards the center, you have lamb and sheep, you have some lions, you have donkeys there, horses, a giraffe, and dogs, right? So in the upper level, you have like animals that we might consider more normal, right? More regular, like cows, horses, all these kind of things that we're accustomed to seeing, using, and then consuming as well, and are beneficial for humans. In the lower layer, you see something different, right? And this is kind of like, in the verses, they describe them as, the things that crawl, right? That creep, sort of, right? They slither on the ground, right? So these are like, potentially the Bible is laying out this structure that there's a hierarchy to being as well, right? And who's at the top of this hierarchy? Absolutely, God's at the top, right? Amongst the animals and creations, which creature is at the highest? At the top. Human beings, right? And everything else kind of follows a structure. Down at the bottom, you have things like rats and snakes and other kind of creepy crawly bugs. Somewhere in the middle you might have animals like certain types of mammals, right? Like maybe more wild animals. Closer to the top, right below humans, you might have more domesticated animals, right? Animals that humans can use, right? So a cow, you can eat it, you can get milk from it, you can also use it to plow the land. How would that belief system impact the way you interact with the world? Right? So if you really think like, hey, humans are at the top, and some people interpret that as that we're better than them. And in some ways, like absolutely we are, right? Like, if you saw two people struggling and they needed help, as a human, you might decide they need help. Animals might not necessarily make that same decision, right? How would this worldview kind of impact how you treat the land? Right? How you treat natural land. Think about that.
You will show more respect and care for things that you think that are more important.
You would show more respect for things you think are important. So there's kind of two things there. One, you have some understanding of what is more or less important. And two, how you should treat it. Absolutely.
There'd probably be a lot more stuff on this planet if we did, like more trees, more variety.
Okay, so coming back to that word of stewardship, to take care of something, to be responsible for it. If people had that worldview, maybe there'd be more biodiversity, you're saying,
Not much extinct.
right? Maybe we'd be better caretakers of the environment, and certain animals and species would not go as extinct as they are, right? To juxtapose that, like what is typically, so it's typically explained like the European worldview is like a pyramid, right? Humans are at the top, right? What do they normally say that indigenous worldview is, right? So if Europeans are a pyramid, what does your textbook typically say that the indigenous are? It's like a circle, right? So everything's kind of interconnected. Everything is about the same and equal, right? And it's not for me to say which one is better or worse, which one you should believe, not believe, but this part of your textbook, your chapter, your curriculum wants you to consider how does that belief system impact what you do, right? So if everything's a circle and we're all equal, do you think that people might believe they have the power to change things, for better or worse? Perhaps, maybe not. If it's a top-down hierarchy, there's a pyramid, do you think that people at the top might think like, hey, we can do something for the ones below? Perhaps, right? It does come down to individual mindset as well, right? But it's quite interesting that the biblical story, it's not that necessarily that we're better than these animals, it's that God in the Bible, the story, it says that you're responsible for these creatures as well, for their well-being, right? Because you can't just think of animals as like NPCs. They feel no pain, they have no needs, wants, and desires. They're not like your little Sims that you play with or your Roblox character, right? Like they're sentient beings. Their sentience is a little different than ours, but they're certainly aware of their surroundings, right? How many of you have really worked around like animals that weren't dogs or cats? Been around animals that aren't dogs and cats? Okay. How many of you, your only real experience with animals is dogs, cats, and zoos? Kind of. Other than going to Nature's Meadow. Okay, a bunch of you didn't raise your hand. You're just not participating. Right. So for those of you who do work with animals that are not just dogs and cats, like what do you observe about the animals?
Cows
They're
usually, like, they group up together in a, like,
They group up together.
yeah, they're very, very timid as well.
Timid. Do we know what the word timid means?
Like
Shy, right? Right. Why did they group up? What have you observed?
I couldn't tell you exactly why, but it's more, I don't know.
It's like a defensive strategy, right? The herd is stronger than an individual cow, right? Over there.
Yeah, a lot of animals herd up for eating things, but like that's pretty much most of them. Like goats, they'll kind of pack around with each other. That not commonly do they things, they don't like to easily approach things, so yeah, timid.
And it's fascinating because all these animals have a particular nature to them and a particular way of behaving.
And
Right.
yeah, they have their own way of behaving. They're not just like the exact same different species but the exact same way. They all have their own ways of doing stuff.
So would you say that cows and goats behave a bit differently?
Yeah.
No, you think they behave the exact same?
Well, goats
Usually
usually
they're kind of always
These walk.
together in groups.
They're always together in groups?
Yeah.
So that's one way of their behavior, right? What were you gonna say?
goats travel more.
Okay, goat.
Cows kind of just sit there grazing most of the time and just lay down. Goats don't really do that as much. They're more active than cows.
And that speaks to maybe the nature of what they consume, right? Cows just eat grass, right?
They
Do
make-
goats really eat grass?
Yes.
Sometimes they'll graze.
Yeah.
They're herbivores.
Yeah.
But like that won't give the nutrients they need, so they need to search for the actual food they need.
Mm-hmm. So the point of this is that, you know, your belief system might impact how you interact with the world, right? Like if you just think you're better than everyone and everything and nothing else matters, how do you think you treat the environment, the natural world? You're shaking your head no, right? Probably not well. Right? If you believe that you're fully interconnected and everything is important, everything matters, you're gonna treat the world in a different manner, right? And all of that impacts, you know, globalization, how we see the world, right? So in Canada, particularly, let's say the North America or the European